Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast, season 2. It's all about winning, and I'm joined today with Chad Hyams and Bob Stewart. Say hi, boys.
Yeah, we got the band back together. The band's back together.
Bob's back in town.
They're going to start singing.
The boys are back
in town. But I
anything we can do to avoid that.
I'm gonna hold back. Hey, let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever been in a meeting?
Yes, I've been in a meeting. Oh, there was more to that question?
I hate these guys. Like, these guys are like the vein of my existence. Bob Stewart, have you ever been in a meeting and you felt like it was a complete waste of time? Everybody spoke over each other. Nobody actually got anything done. And at the end of the day, like, you walk out just scratching your head saying, I don't know what just happened.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That's happened to every one of us because we don't create a format for resolving or a format for having these meetings or these discussions. So that's what I want to talk about today. Fair?
Fair.
So if you're out there listening and you run meetings, committees, you volunteer, you're on a nonprofit board, or you're the boss of your company, today is going to be very valuable to you. And we're going to go back in time when I was tan, tall, and skinny, Chad.
Wow, we're going a long ways back.
I was going to say.
The dinosaur here might remember this. We got a
This was a while back. I read this book, and this book was called The 6 Thinking Hats.
Yep. You read it in 2012. I
think I probably read it before that. It was long.
Well, you brought it to the rest of us in 2012.
Yeah, it's a long old book in my world. Well, The 6 Thinking Hats walks through how many hats, Chad?
6.
6. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, 6 different hats. And the idea is that while you're in some form of a discussion or a meeting, that it's appropriate that everybody wears the same hat at the same time. What happens when we don't follow a process like this? One person says, I have a fact. The fact is this. And somebody else jumps in and says, I feel like you are wrong, Bob Stewart. You are wrong. I don't know why, but I have this feeling. And Chad jumps in and says, I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea. And then I jump in because I'm like Johnny Cash and I only wear black. And I jump in and I'm wearing the black hat. And I say, that'll never work. And it just ruins the conversation. Because you can't think, feel, be negative, have ideas, go through all this sort of process at the same time and expect that you're going to end up with anything of value.
That's essentially every meeting most of us have ever been in, by the way. It works just like you just said, right? It's just chaos.
And you always know who those people are. You know the guy with the black hat. You know the person that's always going to go off and, I feel, and be in that red hat, whatever that's going to be.
Most of us play we default to one of these roles, but naturally, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I'm like naturally the skeptic, the person that points out risk and problems and
I'm probably a black hat by natural too.
Yeah, which is bad because then we both are in there,
yeah.
Right? Okay, so before we dive into this too much, we're going to go through each one of the hats. Okay. So if you're listening, you want to jot this down. If you don't, just go on Amazon and spend $10, $15 and buy the 6 Thinking Hats.
Right. And Bob, we know you'll pay attention because Ben's talking hats on this.
Yeah. Hats. I love hats.
What's your favorite type of hat?
New era, 5950.
Okay, so these are the New Era 5950 6 Thinking Hats.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay.
Do this.
All right, so the first New Era hat today that I want you all to write down is the white hat. The white hat calls for information that is already known or needed. They want the facts and just the facts.
What's that? That's the Blues Brothers, or what is that?
It's white hat,
facts,
Bob. I need to stay on task here.
Okay,
this
sorry.
is the white 59-something hat, 59-something.
5950.
5950.
The white
It's the white hat, the facts.
Yep.
Okay. So if you were wearing the white hat, the only thing that we could discuss at the moment is facts. Facts needed or facts we already have.
So no emotion. We're talking data is what we're looking at here in the facts.
No. Hey, I think if we none of that.
No, just the facts.
Okay.
The temperature today is this. The speed limit is that. Just true facts.
Right. Profit last year for the company was this.
We have.
Or you did say facts we need to know. So we
Yeah.
could say, you know, we don't know what the speed limit is, or we don't know what the
Yeah.
weather's going to be tomorrow, but we definitely need to get that information.
Fact, I have $1,000. The fact I need to know is how much are my expenses in the next X period of time. Okay.
Okay.
The white hat.
Yeah.
Facts. Next hat. It's the 5950 hat for Bob Stewart. It's the yellow hat. The yellow hat symbolizes brightness and optimism. When wearing this hat, you explore the positives and you probe for the value or benefit of doing something. So the yellow hat, brightness, optimism, positives. We're talking about the value and benefits of something.
Easy to remember, yellow like the sun, that positive, that bright sort of thing to go with it.
I like that. I like that.
Okay.
Okay. The next hat, the black hat. It's like a nice top hat, I'm imagining. It's still a 5950, Bob, but it's like a top
Got it.
hat like Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Okay. Side note, my grandpa always used to say, Lincoln, I've been thinking, what in the hell have you been drinking? Smells like whiskey, tastes like wine. Oh my God, it's turpentine.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? Did your grandpa say that?
No,
You've actually done it on a previous
this
episode
before.
for
So
I apologize in advance, everybody. I can't help
wait, why
but
would he say
Lincoln.
that, by the way? Like in what context or what?
I don't know. He just always had a rhyme or a song or like a poem for everything. Yeah. Lincoln, I've been thinking.
Wait, did he drink turpentine? Like
He drank a lot.
If he had to, he would have drank the turpentine.
Yeah.
All right, back on track then.
He drank a lot.
Okay.
Okay.
Tell us about the black hat.
The black hat. Risk, difficulties, problems. The risk management hat, probably one of the most powerful hats of the six, spots difficulties where things could go wrong, why something may not work, or points out issues of risk with the intent of how do we overcome them. So they aren't just throwing rocks and saying, you're an idiot, that'll never work. The idea of the black hat is saying, what if this goes wrong? What would we do? Or have we considered this as a point of failure?
So we need logic that kind of goes along with it. It's not an emotional, I don't like Ben, so I'm just going to say that's stupid. It's, hey, you're missing this, or what happens if it rains that day we were planning that big picnic in the park.
Yeah, I think they point this out, Chad, because they don't want to validate bad behavior where one guy is always pooping on every idea but never has anything of value to give as an alternative.
Right.
So I think it's saying there is positive sides as somebody says, have we considered the fact that this may not work?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And the black hat being the bad guy image is easy to remember as we're pointing out those negative things that could happen along the way.
Okay, because it's cops and robbers and they're dressed up like ninjas in the middle of the night. And
There you go.
And they're here to poke holes in our problems. The fourth hat, the red hat. The red hat signifies feelings, hunches, intuition. When using the red hat, we express our emotions and our feelings. We share fears or things that we like or dislike, or things that we love, or things that we hate.
But there's not facts here. This is just, man, I don't
Just
know.
feelings.
Ben, this
This
doesn't
is
feel
gut.
good. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
right. I don't think it's going to go that way. The stuff we talked about earlier, it doesn't feel like that would be the natural course for that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now, we're going to go through all these together. However, what we're saying is there's a role for each one of these hats.
Yep.
And they should be used in the correct combination at the right time by the right people.
Okay.
But when you intertwine all these at once, you end up with like a fashion faux pas. Like you can't have all these things at once. You got to take them in the right order.
You can't wear that many hats at the same time.
Yeah, it looks silly to wear more than one hat.
Okay, so red, if for those out there who are maybe not able to take notes right now and they want to remember red, like your blood, your heart, it's pumping. We're giving those feelings that come with this. We're giving those emotions.
Which makes me want to say, feelings. Nothing but feelings.
I'm sorry, everybody.
Dave, can you at least add in there like some background music to just take the sting off, you know?
The fifth hat. The fifth hat is the green hat. The green hat focuses on creativity, the possibilities, the alternatives, new ideas. It's an opportunity for us to express concepts or or just off the wall kind of crazy ideas or serious ideas all together.
This is almost that brain dump sort of thing that we would come up with of ridiculous ideas maybe, but we're just getting out there, we're being creative.
I like the brain dump because you're basically, let's just get all the ideas out at once.
Right.
There's no such thing as a bad idea, right? The only bad idea is no ideas, so let's just get them all out on paper. Okay.
Green, like growth, kind of like the plants growing and all of that stuff. Nature, being creative, things happening, all that stuff for those of you trying to remember at home.
Man, you're digging deep.
I'm working this one, Bob. I'm working this one.
I like it. I like it. The last hat, this hat isn't worn by everybody in the room or everybody in the meeting. The last hat is the blue hat.
Okay.
I was always taught that the blue hat was the conductor's hat. The conductor decides in what order the hats are worn and who's wearing what hat at what moment.
Okay.
So the conductor or the blue hat is used to manage the thinking process. It's a control mechanism that ensures that the 6 thinking hats guidelines are observed. So if we were to put this into action, we would say, all right, let's pick a conductor for this meeting, whoever it might be. We'll pick me for the moment since I'm walking through this. So you guys say, Ben, we choose you.
We choose Ben.
Finally,
Yay.
I get chosen for band camp and for dodgeball. I finally get chosen. I get to be the conductor, ladies and gentlemen.
We have it like when we get into our room, David Wiggs plays this role a lot of times in our world, Ben, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so blue, we're remembering it's almost maybe I could go 2 ways on this, Bob, because I'm going to pull these out of the air for you.
Okay.
One, I'm going to go with the police officer wearing the blue hat, directing traffic.
Absolutely.
Right, and then blue also could be the sky. It's above. It's that person up there who's just kind of leading us through all.
Like God?
Yes.
We can
like
call
him.
it the God hat.
The God hat.
Yeah.
Okay, so today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm wearing the God hat.
That's why you gave it the name. All right.
the conductor hat. And we are facilitating a problem. This is the Win, Make, Give podcast crew, the guy you never hear in the background, Dave. By the way, I was at an event last week and they're like, are you the Dave from the podcast? Yes, that was the Dave. He's actually famous out there, even though nobody's ever heard his voice. He's like the silent Bob of the Win, Make, Give podcast.
Wait, we have a silent Bob. He's usually on vacation on us.
He is. Yes, the one.
I heard you guys talking trash, by the way. I listened to our podcast episodes.
All right. So we're having a meeting.
Okay. What are we going to try to solve? What's our problem, conductor?
Hey, I'm the conductor.
All right.
Shut up. So we're having a meeting. Guys, I would love to facilitate us through this meeting today for the purpose of today and just this one meeting. Like we can switch off, but today I want to be the conductor because I want to walk our way through this. Okay. So we can decide at what order we want the hats, right? Blue, we're starting with because I'm going to set the stage and the goal. The goal of today is for us to resolve, let's say, what the name of our next podcast is that we don't know yet.
Okay.
Okay, we decided that we need another podcast.
Why am I worried? This is actually going to create a new podcast that we'll be working on.
Okay, so you guys understand I'm conducting. That's it. Okay, so now the very first hat we're going to start with is the white hat. So the white hat says we're looking for the facts. Chad, how many podcasts do we have today in the Win, Make, Give network?
We have 3 podcasts
which
are Win, Make, Give, 15-Point Plan, and Tell Me Something Good. And we do have a forthcoming, might be live by the time of this episode, but I'm not going to tell anybody else.
Okay, Bob, what subjects do we cover in the Win, Make, Give podcast?
Health, wealth, leadership, and legacy.
Yeah, what are we kind of leaning towards more lately?
Winning,
leadership. Chad, what? This is a fact. What do we cover in the 15-point plan?
Health, energy, and happiness.
Okay, and then our friend Clint, what does he cover?
Tell me something good. He's covering lessons that are going to have us focus on the positivity.
Okay, so these are all facts.
Yep.
If we were to sit back and say, what do we care about the most that we don't have a podcast on yet, or we don't talk about as often as we'd like, what comes to your mind, Bob?
housing,
Real estate, maybe. Okay.
Financing. Money.
Okay.
Right? It's a passion of all of us.
Okay. So the facts are we do not have a podcast on real estate and we do not have a podcast on money. Okay, great. So these are all facts.
Yep.
Now, another fact might be
The number of listens that we get, the number of downloads that come off each one, so we can say, hey, here's how many Win Make Gives gets, here's how many 15-point plans get, so we can kind of see what the trends are.
Yeah, or how many requests we've had for a different type of content or a different type of podcast. Okay, so we're gathering all the facts. So what we figured out is, hey, potentially we need a real estate related podcast, and we need one more focused on money, so like a financial podcast.
Yep. Spoiler alert, one of those two might be coming very soon.
Hypothetically.
Spoiler.
Okay, so when we look at the rest of the hats, it'd be too easy to jump right into the positive side of this, the value and benefit, the yellow hat. I don't know if we jump into that one right away. And on the same hand, I don't know if we would jump in right away into the problems.
Okay.
And I don't know if we jump in right away into how we feel.
Okay.
Which leaves us, Chad, with
the green hat for creativity.
The green hat. So, gentlemen, I'm conducting the meeting. We've identified some facts, what we have, what we don't have, and we've identified some requests, which is a fact. So now let's brainstorm creatively with all wearing the green hat, what some topics that we could cover in more depth, or what the name of this podcast would be. We can pick one of those two. What do you want to do?
Let's do the topics.
Okay, and before we do, while we're getting ready to do that, I want to just point out to everybody what you're doing wearing the blue hat is taking us through this, and you're making sure everyone wears every hat.
At the same
because
time.
Bob would normally just default to that black hat, as he mentioned earlier, and you're saying, no, Bob, white hat right now. Now green hat, Bob. Don't give me any negatives. You've got to all be in the same hat at the same time, so the conversation
same hat,
goes
same
forward.
time, right? That's how we avoid the chaos.
Yeah. So now we're going into the green hat.
Okay.
So Bob made the suggestion that we talk about topics. So Bob, give me a topic that we could talk about in the financial podcast.
Can I go to the housing? Because I already had an idea. That's
real
why
estate. Okay, go ahead. Real estate.
What's that?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think that we could interview like new homeowners. You know, we're putting hundreds of people into new homes every month, like exploring the stories of new home ownership. I think would be cool.
That's a cool idea. Chad?
That's a good one, Bob.
Topics, ideas.
Right?
Yeah. If we stayed with that same trend, staying on the housing topic, it could be just looking at trends that are going on in the market across the country or in our areas or whatever it are, so people know. Tools that are available to people that they could be using and adding on to their businesses.
That's awesome. I think it would be fun to have like some horror stories of like the biggest mistakes, or like remember the Money Pit movie that came out in the 80s where
Great
like
movie.
the what was the bathtub fell through the floors?
Yep.
Okay. Bob, do you have another idea?
How about I'm into stories. How about like the stories of fix and flips, income ways that we can make money through the housing industry?
I like that. Maybe we could talk to some experts that do that. Chad,
I was thinking investing through the housing, right? Do Airbnb versus long-term rentals, things like that could be done.
Yeah, I've been thinking about remodeling my kitchen because it's like literally a dump and that doesn't have a cover on the oven. It's really embarrassing.
You don't have a hood over your stove?
No, the oven where you put things into. I got one of those built-in ones, but it doesn't have a cover for it, and I haven't replaced the cover because I need to replace the entire oven. So I don't want to buy a cover if I'm just going to replace the oven. I got to replace the entire oven. I want to replace all the cabinets. So it just does this chaos. Anyway, I need a new kitchen. But what goes through my mind is, am I going to get my money back out of it?
Right.
I don't plan on living there forever, right? So what type of cabinets or what types of kitchen remodel should I do for the money? So my idea is, for the money, what should I do?
Sure.
Okay, Bob, what else you got?
How about how much? Like I always, and maybe I always see these articles, or I'm easily like clickbaited, they call it, I think. But
yes,
what does $300,000 get you in
blank? Yeah,
yeah, in blank, right? Or what does $1 million get you in? Or how much for your lake house in? Or those kind of like exploring what the market looks like across different parts of the country.
Okay, so I'm conducting this right now. We're going through the green hat. We're getting a bunch of ideas. Since I'm the conductor, I'm actually writing them all down.
Yep.
I can write it on a whiteboard or a piece of paper. As the conductor, I have to resist the temptation to say, Bob, that's a good idea, or Bob, you're an idiot. I can't say that because we want the free flow of ideas. And if you tell one person it's good or bad, it might damper the other person giving ideas in the room. Okay. So now we got a whole bunch of ideas out there, and if we're doing this in real life, we might spend a much longer time, like coming up with 100 different ideas that we could use for this for this podcast.
Would
Now,
you do something like that? Would you set a time where we're going to do 15 minutes of this, or are you going to set a goal where we're going to come up with 50, no matter how crazy they are? Would you have a goal, Mr. Conductor?
Yeah, I would say, or I'd go till we couldn't think of any others. Like there's an amount of time where you would look up and you're like, anything else? Anybody, anything else? And like, well, maybe. And you just get to the end of it. Okay, we want to get to the end of it.
Got it.
All right, so now we've done the green hat and we've done the white hat. So our choices are, we could immediately go into the problems and put on the black hat, but I don't think that's a good way to go.
Okay.
Or we could go into the red hat and tell us about how we feel, but I don't know if that's right for this particular situation either. So my suggestion is that we all put on the yellow hat. So we're going white, green, and now yellow. And Chad, the yellow hat is what?
Those are the benefits. Those are the positives and the plus points of doing this, Ben.
Okay. So, Bob Stewart, I got to ask you a question. If we were able to put together a real estate podcast and we're able to cover the majority of the topics that we came up with, what do you think some of the benefits to our company or our world would be? Let's just be optimistic. If we hit this out of the park, what's the value and the benefit of this podcast?
I think it opens us up to new buyers and sellers, potentially people that end up buying a house through one of our agents or one of our companies.
Oh yeah, we could potentially get some leads coming in.
Yeah,
I like that. Okay, Chad, what do you got for a value or benefit?
Value or benefit of doing this would be maybe a new audience, because now we're getting out into the general public, not necessarily people working in the industry as much, because they want to know about the value of their kitchen, or they want to know about the horror stories or what to avoid because they're going to become homeowners.
I like that. So Chad, how many real estate agents are there in America?
I do know
1.5
1.3 billion.
1.5 million.
Yeah, about 2 million licensed real estate agents, maybe 1.5 million realtors. Okay. How many homeowners are there in the United States?
150 million.
Yeah, there's a freaking lot, right? So our audience becomes much, much bigger.
Yep.
Here's something I heard a guy the other day. We interviewed this really phenomenal guy the other day, and he said he's the founder of Faith Life Bible Software, Bob Pritchett.
Yep.
And I asked him, I said, have you gone into other industries? And we talked about it for a while, but then he came back and said, here's the reality. It would be easier for me to go to my current Bible software customers and sell them tacos than it would for me to go and sell software to a different industry. Now, why do you think that is?
Because they've got a lot of built-in trust, and they've been using him for a long time, and I mean they believe in.
They know him, like him, and trust him.
So one of my benefits that I would like to add to this is we already have an audience that trusts us and listens to us and laughs or rolls their eyes or shakes their heads. Like,
or
we have an
all
audience
of it at once.
Yeah, we have an audience of people that would probably listen to other stuff if we had other stuff. So it benefits our current group of people.
Sure.
Okay, Bob, do you got other benefits?
I think that it could become a recruiting channel for us, right?
Okay,
like
yeah.
in terms of like bringing more people into our organization.
Okay, cool. Chad?
Helps the Win, Make, Give network get larger, which is a wonderful way that all the podcasts can support each other to continue to grow.
I like that.
Folks, Ben didn't prep us on this. I want you to know Bob and I are pulling these out of the air as we go, like we are actually in this meeting.
We're actually in this meeting.
We are actually in this meeting. I think there might be a new podcast.
We're going to launch a podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Like, you guys might do it because now you have all our ideas.
Well, let's get to the black hat then. Can we do the black hat, son?
Yeah.
We just need you all to do the green hat on the name of the new podcast that you'll submit in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/win, make, give, because I'm going to post about that when this episode drops.
So we've gone through the white hat, the problem. Problem is, or the facts.
Yes.
This is what we have, right? We would like to have another one. These are the ideas we came up with. Then we went through the green and we talked about all the different types of content and episodes we could do.
Yep.
Then we went through the yellow and we just talked about the benefits.
Okay.
Now, what
Got
I would
two
like
left.
what I would like to do is I would like to go to the black hat.
Okay.
Now the black hat, Chad, is about what?
The caution hat, right? The difficulties, the problems that could arise. This is not name calling. This is not pointing like, damn you, Ben Kinney, we don't like you for thinking about doing this. This is, what are the challenges that can come from this?
Yeah. What's unique about this style and this process is that even the natural black hat thinkers get the opportunity to present ideas.
Right.
Everybody in the room had to present an idea, right? Now we're getting to the black hat where we all get the opportunity to present risks, difficulties, problems, issues, concerns, right?
Yep.
And let's start with Bob. What is a risk or a problem or difficulty that we might have if we pursued this idea?
I'll represent the strong silent type in the corner. We're gonna have to get Dave more help potentially. Like I feel like he's probably getting close to being maxed out, managing a couple of podcasts and all of the other things from an audiovisual perspective that he does. So just people wise, like just Dave might need some help.
Yeah, it might be a resources issue. Okay, Chad.
I would say the time commitment that's going to come from it, Ben, because we already all have pretty full calendars, and now to think we're going to find the time to be able to organize, prepare, record more episodes.
Yeah, do we actually have time to do this?
Right.
Do we actually have time to do this? What else?
Is there even an appetite for this sort of a content out there? Like, are there other podcasts that are big in this space? Are there none? And maybe there's just a void that we could fill.
Are we diluting our audience by spreading them thinner, and now they don't listen to Win, Make, Give because they decide they want to listen to...
Because they only have an hour a week to listen to podcasts, and now they're
going to choose that one instead of this one, so we're going to lose listeners from the main hub or whatever it might be.
Okay, what else we got?
What else you got over there, Black Hat Thinker?
Yeah.
Could be a distraction.
Yep, could be a distraction. Would we need to find another
Voice?
host, voice potentially? Like, these other podcasts aren't all us, right?
And do we want to bring somebody else into the world of this and the commitment that comes from it versus the chemistry that's created already?
Okay. So now we're going through this process and we're pointing out just a ton of things that could be problems.
I know someone's screaming one at their phone or at the radio.
Like, you guys are morons. You guys are missing more of this.
And some other people are saying, no, we want this right now. So keep us going, Ben.
Okay. So we pointed out all the problems. We've brainstormed all the creative things. We've talked about the benefits of doing this. And we have a facts. We've got that clear. Now there's one hat left.
Yep.
And the reason I saved the red hat for the end. What's the red hat again, Chad?
Red hat's the feelings, what's our gut saying about this? How do we emotionally feel about all this?
Okay. Because once we got the positives, the ideas, the negatives, and the facts out, then, and really only then, do you have the real ability to say, this is how I feel about it. Well, how would you feel about it if you only had the negatives in your mind? How would you feel about it if you only had ideas in your mind?
Right.
How would you feel about it if you're only super positive and you're always farting daisies and puppies and stuff like that? You need to have a full perspective. Or how would you feel if you didn't have all the facts?
Right. So now I'm looking at a whiteboard where maybe you're having the facts, you're having the positives, you're having the creative brain dump and the challenges up there, or I'm looking at a piece of paper that everyone's got in front of them. So I have all of the different feelings to come back to.
So I'm wearing the blue hat still. I'm conducting. So I might go back to the group and say, hey, Chad, I got to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've brainstormed this and we got the ideas out and we talked about the problems and we got, we know what's going on.
Yep.
At the end of the day, how do you feel about this idea?
I feel it could be a good idea. I feel it doesn't drive my passion. So I don't know that I'm going to be 100% behind making it as successful as it could be.
Fair. Bob, how do you feel about this idea?
I feel good about it. I think my fear is that we don't find somebody passionate like Chad just said, and maybe it doesn't, for you and I, it doesn't become a priority. But I feel like with the right person, maybe in that driver's seat, it could be a good deal.
Are you sitting out there listening to this podcast, wondering if you could be a host of a award-winning podcast under the Win, Make, Give network?
This is the Go Back to the Talent series. We just brought you in on how to hire talent.
Do you have a face for radio, but a voice of a phone sex operator? Are you slightly inappropriate, yet fun, well-researched? This might be the opportunity for you. Where do they go, Chad?
Are
They
you
can
willing
go
to
to our
work for
Facebook
free? Are you
group.
willing to work for free?
Facebook, Facebook.com/group/win-make-give and contact myself or Bob, and we'll take it from there with you.
Let's requalify Bob's statement that this podcast only cost us money.
That's
It's
right.
never made us money. We
Nope.
give money
Are
away
you
to
willing to
people.
pay to
That's
come
right.
here every day with us and hang out?
Take time away from everything else that makes you money so that you can be here recording this with us. Ben, what are your feelings? I know you're the blue hat guy, but I want to get your feelings after we just brain dumped and went through the 6 hats. What's your feelings on this new podcast idea?
Based on the creative podcast episodes that you guys shared, I realized that, like you, Chad, I'm not super passionate about all those individual items.
Right.
And that I would have fun being a guest on it from time to time and talking about things, but that's not my passion. If
Right.
you guys would have picked the financial podcast, I might be super jacked because I'm super passionate around changing people's wealth.
You know they're
longevity.
yelling at us right now saying, good, go do the 6 hats on that one right now. Let's get Ben doing that.
Because actually, when we got done with it and we assessed this entire conversation, we might sit back and say, you're right. Let's do the same exact exercise on the financial podcast.
Right.
There are other scenarios where you might walk in and there might not be a clear problem, but you realize that you have time or money. So you might say, all right, let's put the green hat on for a while and say, hey, if we could do anything, what would we do? And we literally start with the green hat and then we just brainstorm. What are all the ideas of things that we could go do? And then we could go to the yellow hat and say, well, what's the value of that? And then we could go and we could dig up some research and go to the white hat and get some facts. And then
So
we
there's
could,
no order is what you're saying. The hats need to go in. The only hat we start with is going to be the blue hat because the conductor is going to run the operation of what's happening. But after that, it's up to the conductor as to which hat makes the most sense to put on next.
and it's not linear, Chad, because that conductor could say, all right, guys, it looks like we got to a dead end. We're going to put the green hat back on and we're going to go back and we're going to brainstorm some more ideas because we're not leaving this meeting until we have a solution.
And could you also call time out in the middle of a meeting and say, now everybody go, we're going to reconvene tomorrow or next week because you all need to go find the facts
Yeah.
so we can put that white hat on and actually have a right conversation.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, the 6 Thinking Hats, a book that somebody else wrote, wasn't me.
Edward de Bono.
You can pick up on Amazon.
Link will be in the show notes.
Yeah, it's an easy read, take you about an hour or so. You'll get the concept. If you feel like you're sitting in meetings and things could go better, this might be the book for you. There was a point in time where I went to an association, a realtors meeting, and we had sat in the room for like an hour, hour and a half, and I had driven a couple hours to get there. And everybody was talking over everybody, and it was chaos. And like at one point, I took my hand and I slammed it on the table. They didn't know me very well, by the way. I slammed it on the table, and I said, guys, gals, I drove a long ways to get here, and I don't have an enormous amount of time. And I would like us to come up with something tangible, but I can't continue to sit here and us waste each other's time. So I have a proposition. And they were all kind of scared or awkward or whatever. And I said, I want to share with you guys the 6 Thinking Hats. And I got up on a piece of paper and I wrote them out there. And I said, all right, here's what I think we should do. What are the facts? What are we trying to solve? We're trying to increase membership of our association. Awesome. What's our current member count? What's our goal? Okay, what's the most we've ever added in a year? Okay, great. Awesome. Now, why don't we all brainstorm? There's no bad ideas. One guy wanted to have a realtor car, and one person wanted to have a realtor credit card, and one guy wanted to give out health insurance. And like there's a million ideas, and some were great and some were lofty, right? There was a couple bad ones, right? But that happens. But everybody got a chance to share it. I said, great. Why don't we circle the top 3, 4, or 5? Everybody, I'm going to walk through it. If you think it's a good idea, raise your hand. And I went through it, and I was able to circle 4 or 5 of them. Awesome. And then I was able to move into the next one and say, if we did 4 of these 5 or 3 of these 5, what are the benefits? What are the benefits of the first one? What are the benefits of the second one? All right. Let's talk about, how do you guys feel about these? Are we going in the right direction? And is there any downsides? And we're able to actually leave with a plan. So I've used this in my life in many ways in meetings where people know me and where people don't. Sometimes I do it unofficially without even telling them we're wearing hats by just being the conductor in the room. Yep. Who has ideas? Let's stick on that for a minute. All right, Chad, how do you feel about that?
Right.
right? And I'm moving through the process. So as you internalize it, it'll become easier. I hope that you take the time, buy a bunch of these books, and have your team read it, have your company read it, and just make your meetings more productive. And you're going to get more joy and more energy out of these meetings you have to go to from now on.
And we hope we brought you joy and energy right here on this
You're so good at that.
Thank you, Bob Stewart. We brought you here on this episode, and that we didn't give you too many black hat moments with the singing of Ben Kinney. Folks, I've already shared the Facebook group. We hope you have joined us there and that you engage there. We hope you share this episode with somebody who's been leading a meeting that you wish they knew this. Share that episode with them. And until our next episode, as always, do good.